Alex, you know, KSI Press. I'm here with Kate Hansen, who returns to action at UFC 270. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm very happy to be talking with you. How are your holidays?
They were good. COVID kind of messed it up a little bit, so it wasn't as, we didn't celebrate as much as usual, but everyone's safe, happy, healthy, so I can't ask for anything more.
Awesome, awesome. Before we talk about your fight, I wanted to circle back to something. You did that very raw interview with MMA fighting, and I just wanted to know how good that felt to get that off your chest, and then also kind of what the reception was.
I mean, it felt good to get it off my chest, I guess, but that wasn't really my aim for it. You know what I mean? Putting personal information out there like that might lift a little weight off your chest, but it's also a very vulnerable thing to do. So it's not like came out with my story and was like, oh, that felt great. You know what I mean? Like it's a heavy thing. So, um, and like as far as like the feedback I got from it, I don't know. The only reason I did it was because like if someone else is in a similar situation and they can kind of relate to it and if I can help in any way. Um, but of course, like there's always trolls and dumb shit that people say. So I saw a little bit of both, but I tried my best, honestly, after I did that to not even look at comments, not really pay attention. Just because sharing personal information like that is already hard as it is. So the last thing I want is to go on and see like criticism or anything. But I'm going out there and I'm just trying to put it out there for anyone who might it could help maybe.
Oh, for sure, that's awesome. And yeah, no, I mean, you go underneath your Twitter, your Instagram, and you have
Yeah.
fucking trolls for days. I
Yeah,
don't know.
my block list is getting really long. I used to not block anyone and not care, but I'm trying my best not to argue with as many people anymore, but it's so hard because I love to argue. I love to win arguments. So it's hard for me, but I'm trying my best to not do that anymore. So I'm just blocking left and right now.
And it's just like you're arguing against somebody who's just like who just wants a response out of you. You know, it's
Yeah,
just
but that's the stupidest part is like I'm blocking people for like stupid shit now. Like they'll just be like your hand looks a little low in that action shot and I'm like block. Like I don't need any negativity. You know what I mean? Like I don't it's to the point where I'm fed up with it. So
so you're 13 days out. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good, I wasn't as active this year, focusing on getting healthy, physically, mentally. So I'm excited. I'm 13 days out. It's gonna be the start of, a more active year for me. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, awesome. So Jasmine Jasudavicius, did
Mhm.
you know who she was before she was offered to you? I'm guessing you did because you're a big fan of the sport.
Yeah, I mean, just as a fighter in the sport, I know everyone, especially the girls, you know what I mean? Like, I don't do much film study just because it's just not my thing. I used to, but I do have a general idea of who everyone is. You know what I mean? It's like just being aware of your surroundings and your career. This is my life, so I would hope I would know who most people are. But yeah, I'm excited. I don't know too much about her personally. Obviously, I'm not going in blind, but my coaches are doing some film study for me, and for me, it's just another day in the office, so I'm excited.
Awesome. How do you like the matchup?
I think it's a good matchup. I think when you're in the UFC, you have to expect every fight to be tough, and every fight brings a different challenge. Whether it's from your opponent, yourself. You know what I mean. So, I'm looking forward to a tough fight. So I'm excited.
Awesome. Do you have a prediction for the fight?
Not really. You know what I mean. I never like to make predictions. I'm always just like whatever comes comes. You know what I mean. She could try to grapple, I could try to grapple, she could try to strike, I could try to strike. I feel like we're at a point now in martial arts, especially women's martial arts, where it's like it's not anymore like boxer versus striker for the most part. Everyone is kind of good at everything. So I'm expecting an all around good fight everywhere.
Um, are you worried about ring rust?
No, not at all. Like since I was 18, well, I started training at 16 and I've been all in, but I went professional at 18 and I fought 3, 4 times every year, most years. This is the only time that I've taken off, and it was during that time. It's not like I was not training. You know what I mean? Obviously, I took some time for my health and stuff, but like I trained year round since I was 16 years old. So for me, it's like this is my second nature, so I'm not really worried about that. It's kind of natural instinct for me when I get in there and everything is gonna kick into gear. So I'm excited.
Awesome. How does it feel to be fighting in California again? I mean, it's been like 4 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. But I mean, I don't know. It's kind of cool because I'm finally in my hometown. You know what I mean? And also on top of that, it's like gonna be my first arena event. that I'm fighting in, because both my fights have been at the Apex during like COVID times. So I'm excited. You know, it's gonna be in my hometown, first pay-per-view card. So I mean, everything's kind of lining up.
You're in. You requested to be in California, right?
I did, yeah.
How did that go?
Oh, well, I had brought it up a few times, and my manager had brought it up a few times, and it kind of got swept under the rug. So I text Dana personally, and it was changed pretty quick after I messaged him. I'm always getting myself into trouble, but you know, closed mouths don't get fed, so I don't regret any of it.
Okay, yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, and you kind of just already mentioned it, but you're in front of a crowd. Your first two UFC fights were behind closed doors. I mean, just explain your excitement for that.
I mean, this is what you like dream of, you know what I mean? You dream of like walking out with the big crowd in your hometown, like you know, hopefully it's just the first time and not the last, you know what I mean? I'd love to, you know, do this more often, but they don't, you know, go to your hometown very often, you know? So it's literally in my backyard. So I'm excited. It's what everyone dreams for, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna bring it up, but the Corey McKenna fight, it's been a minute. I think most people think you won that fight. I guess just looking back at that fight, what did you take away from it? And I guess, are you kind of disappointed that you got the split decision
It was
wrong?
actually a unanimous decision loss. Like,
It was unanimous. That's right.
absolutely crazy to me. But you know, it is what it is. Like, judges suck sometimes, you know what I mean? I was happy with my performance. Obviously, I had a lot that I picked up to work on from that fight, like you do every fight. For me, I think what could have won me that fight or solidified it even more than I think was already solidified was definitely position. You know, I have there was a point where I took her down, I had her back, and then I went for an armbar from the back and I ended up on the bottom for like the last minute or so of the round. And even though I was going for a submission, you know what I mean, I ended up on the bottom, so maybe that didn't look as good. So just you know, fight IQ, I guess, which just comes naturally with experience and age. So I'm expecting that to be a lot better this time around.
For sure. And then finally, just two more things. I mean, 22 years old, fucking crazy in the UFC. What are you looking forward to in 2022? And how many times are you looking to fight?
You know, I think I'm finally at the point where I'm growing up, you know, so I'm like listening to my body now, and I want to make sure I do that for longevity purposes. Um, for years I kind of just didn't listen to my body and just plowed through everything, and then I was forced to take this year off. So I think I've learned my lesson, you know. I would love to fight 3-4 times this year. That would be ideal, obviously. So that's the plan. As long as I keep doing what I'm doing and I'm healthy, I think it's very doable. But you know, I just got to make sure I don't fall back into old patterns when I get excited about staying active. So
And not looking past Jasmine at all, but just looking at the rest of the division. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
you know, I don't know. I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't even know if I'm staying at 25 or going back down to 15 after this fight. I've been walking at 130 right now pretty consistently. So, um, you know, I'm not going to be the biggest flyweight if I stay at flyweight, which doesn't necessarily matter, but I'm debating on going back down to 15 after this, but I'm just going to have to wait and see. I mean, either way, there's talent in both divisions. You know what I mean? 115, I feel like there's just more girls. You know, it's a little more dense than the 125 division, but talent wise, I mean, both divisions have great talent. You know, so the road to the belt is not an easy one. Either way you go. You know, so either way, I'm excited. Each division posts like different threats. You know what I mean, and different things I have to address, but I'm gonna go ahead and wait and see how I feel this fight and after this fight and my body and how it kind of snaps back and see where it's at, and then we'll decide, me and my team, whether going back down to 15 or staying at 25 is the best choice for me.
And I should have led with that in the in the beginning of the interview, in the beginning of the interview. But what was the decision to fight at 125 as your return fight?
Well, this past year, you know, I was going through an eating disorder, so my body has been through a shit ton in the last few years, and especially this last year, trying to correct years and years of damage I put my body through. You know what I mean? All my organs, you know what I mean? My metabolism, just my body in general. So for me, my biggest thing was I didn't want to spend a year like my body went through a lot of changes this past year, and the last thing I want to do is put it through, you know, a weight cut right now. So I'll have a few pounds to cut, you know what I mean? But hopefully by the time weight cut day comes, I don't really have anything to cut, and that's ideal. You know, I wish I could do that every time. But we'll see how I feel. You know, right now I feel really strong. I'm eating 4 or 5 small meals a day with snacks in between. I have no limitations on what I'm eating. So it's been like it's a one less thing to focus on, you know what I mean? One less thing to stress on. So we'll kind of see how I feel, you know, after this fight when it comes to weight divisions. And I mean, I'm 22, so probably both, most likely. Eventually, by the end of my career, I'll have equal fights in both, I'm sure. You know what I mean? But we'll see for the next immediate step, I guess.
I mean, you're 22. You got a few years for your body to fully, you know, come in. I mean, how much weight were you cutting to get to straw weight?
I mean, not much. My problem was I never ate. So for me, it was weird though, because I've been through different cycles. When I was like 18 or 19, I just didn't cut very good. You know what I mean? I would walk at 135. And then like 7 to 10 days out, I would just cut out everything and starve myself pretty much. And then eventually I did not like doing that. So I just started not eating year round to avoid cutting. So I went from walking at 135, cutting to 15 in like 7 days early in my career. And then a little more on, I decided to just stop eating, which doesn't make sense, but in my mind it did. So I was walking around like 120, like with the Corey McKenna fight, I was walking around like 120, 123. So I like on weight cut night, I had to cut 1 pound, and it was like 30 minutes in the sauna and 30 minutes in the like towels, and it was easy, you know? So my body's kind of been through a lot, you know what I mean? From walking at 135 to cutting to 115 in 7 days to year round walking at 123, and now I'm steady at like 130. So I'm just gonna kind of let my body settle, and we'll see, you know what I mean? If I'm walking at 130, 115 is not an unreasonable weight cut, you know what I mean? Once I like diet and like, because right now, like I said, I'm just kind of eating, you know, I'm not eating bad foods, I'm eating great healthy foods, but I'm eating as much as I want, you know what I mean? So walking at 130, if I do decide to go back to 115 after this fight, it's not going to be that hard to diet down and do it the right way this time, you know what I mean? Especially now that like I have the like guidance, you know what I mean? I have resources now, whereas before when I was 18, 19, 20, I was just like saying fuck it, I'm doing what I think is right, which was not right at all. But you live and you learn, and that's where I'm at. I've learned. So
We tend to be our worst enemies sometimes. Did the UFC PI help out?
they did a lot actually. Before my last fight with Cheyenne, buys was scheduled in March. I had reached out to like 4 different nutritionists, and they were one of them. And every nutritionist that like I spoke out to and I gave them like all the issues I was dealing with, they were like, you need to pull out of this fight right now. So I said no, didn't listen to them for like a couple weeks. And then like 10 days out from that fight, I was like, wow, okay, I can't fight. So I actually, on fight week that I was supposed to fight, I went to the PI and I did like a bunch of blood work. I did a bunch of like testing. And then they had me out every 4 to 6 weeks, like from March. I stopped it for the last few months because my levels were getting a little better, you know what I mean? But for a while, every 4 to 6 weeks, I was making the trip to Vegas for some blood work and just some testing. You know, they have a lot of good sports science there, and a lot of good knowledge. So I was using that. I also, you know, the training lab, because TJ trains at my gym. So I reached out to them and I did some like they have like a hair test kit for your metabolism. So like I reached out to like all the resources I could, you know what I mean, just to like educate myself and learn a little bit more about my body. I feel like a lot of times, like even just in the fitness industry, people have like a cookie cutter method for everything, and it's like your body is not the same as someone else's body, especially like someone like say you've been through an eating disorder and like you've put your body through hell. Like I'm gonna need way different things than you're gonna need, you know? So I just pretty much spent the last year like fixing the mistakes that I've made and also learning about my individual body and what works for me. And a lot of it was trial and error, which was why it took me so long, you know what I mean, to like get back and feel good again, because it was literally like I had to relearn how to eat and how to digest and how, you know what I mean, my blood levels had to even out, and like it wasn't easy. So finally feeling like everything's coming together, and I just want to stay healthy this year. That's my main goal.
Gotcha, man. So it's just like, so with all that being said, feeling good, looking good, Are we seeing a new Kay Hansen at UFC 270?
Yeah, I think so. It's so crazy to me. Like after I went back to training, I had to take like a couple months off to give my body some rest and like de-stress it, you know. That was like back in March. But ever since then, I've been training consistently, and I train the same in and out of camp. I don't really adjust. Obviously, like if you get opponent specific stuff, but as far as training load goes, it's pretty much the same in and outside of camp. So I've been training consistently forever, and the difference that it's made, like eating like full meals and being fully nutritious, like it's just crazy to me, like the way I feel. So I'm excited to showcase that version of myself that I'm like discovering.
Awesome. And you have so many people looking forward to your return, including myself. I just want to thank you for your time. If you want to plug your social media, plug your sponsors, the floor is yours.
Just K Hansen MMA on everything. That's literally my tag on every. I'm not creative at all, so but yeah, thank you for having me. It was awesome.